Hello, I just want to remind you that the Interim 2 will be from January 10th through the 21st. So if you go to the home page in Canvas, you'll see it listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. So notice it says January 10th through the 21st. The office hours, the video is located here. So if you go to the Q&A calls here, you'll see the link to the one from yesterday. So Monday, December 13th. So click on this and you'll get access to the recording of the call. One of the other things I want to remind you or let you know about is this. So the tasks, there were a couple of tasks you had to do to prepare for the second interim. And so remember, the task 34 was to verify students for interim 2. So click on the down arrow to download the document. And then task 35 was to remind you to assign text-to-speech or math language translation for interim 2. If the student received those accommodations for interim 1, it should follow for interim 2, but it's always a good idea to check to make sure that they still have those accommodations. Last week, I'm going to go back to the home page. Last week, ANet did some data meetings with the principals and executive directors. So if you go to the home page and notice in purple right here, it says data and instructional resources. One of the items that was discussed with the principals and executive directors was the data analysis protocols. So I'm going to click on this, and when you click on the data analysis protocols, you'll see some links to a few items. So the first one for ELA is protocol steps. So that was discussed in the meeting with the executive directors and also with the principals. So when I click on this, it brings you to this document. So there's step 1 where it says review performance data at the student level, and then some information about that step. And then step 2, identify the key understanding and qualitative characteristics of the passage and how the writing prompt targets them, and some information on parts 1 and part 2. And then step 3, determine what insights the assessment and your student data, including writing, illuminate about your instructional curriculum, and some bullets on that part. And then step 4, decide how you address the needs you identified. And there's some options there, option 1, option 2. There's more guides in option 1. And again, that was presented to the principals and executive directors last week. There's a good chance that your principal will use this with the PLCs, or will ask individual teachers to use that for any assessment. It doesn't have to be ANet, it could be any assessment. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page, and then there's a video that focuses on decisions 1 and decision 2, and then part 2 data meeting video, which focuses on decision 3 and decision 4. There's also a math analysis resource that was provided by ANet to the executive directors, and so when you click on that, you'll get this. Now it looks a little different than the ELA one, but if you go to the second page, there are some approaches that instructional approaches that you can use with the data from ANet or from any assessment. It could be a teacher-made test, it could be midterm, it could be a pre-test, any assessment. And then it's a few pages, so there's additional information about the adaptive instruction options. Okay. But that was it. That's all that ANet presented was this document. Nothing else was said about it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home page. And remember, I'm in this part here where it says in purple, data instructional resources. They did provide some virtual learning modules for math and ELA. So I'm just click on math. And there are some virtual modules there. One of them is on preparing for your data meeting, and then deep dive into each of the different strands in math. And then the last one is understanding mathematical rigor. Go back to the home page, And you can do the same thing for, I'm going to this part here, you can do the same thing for ELA. They did talk about fluency routines in both with the principals and with the executive directors. So I'm going to click on fluency routines. They did indicate it's still opening. They did indicate that if students scored below 30% on the interim, you may want to look at how they did on the fluency. Chances are they're having fluency issues, and then they indicated that you could use these weekly reading practice routines. They did mention this was used in several schools, and it did help improve comprehension on reading passages. All right, so I just want to bring that because your principal and executive director may ask teachers to use this on a daily basis. Okay, so then I'm going to go here. So the PowerPoints that were used during those meetings are located here. So you see where it says presentation for ANet slide decks. So these are the PowerPoints. So this one, the first one was with the executive directors. The second one you see here, right here, was for the elementary principals. And the third one is the slide deck for middle and high. The last link here is to get to the recording. So we click on this, and then if you want to look at the recording from the middle and high school session, click on here. Here's the passcode, so copy and paste the passcode. Here's the elementary session, the recording with the principals. And then these two links here are the session materials for the data discussion, and then the session materials for the principal sessions. So if you click, let me just go ahead and click on the session materials for the data discussion, just to show you what it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on ELA resources real quick. And then, okay, this folder is empty. All right, so let's see what's in the math resources. Clicking on math resources. It's still turning. All right, so let's see. Just clicking on this. All right, so that's that instructional approach we saw earlier. I'm going to go back. I'll move backward. And then they have this one. Now, this right here, this is math, and they probably have it somewhere in ELA as well. But you can click on these links, and teachers, if they have access to this, can take the test as a student would take the second interim. So this is for the second interim. All right, so these are the links. If you click on, let's say, I'm going to go ahead and click on grade 5. Let's see, there's, okay, you see where it says A1? So this is the first interim, and then the one that's shaded is the second interim. So I'm going to go ahead and click on, let's say, grade 6, just to see what it looks like. So it's redirecting us. All right, still trying to load. All right, so this is what a student would see. And so these are the problems they would go through it. So you could do this as a teacher, or if you, as a site leader, you could go through it as well. All right, but the links are there right here. So remember, the A1 is interim 1, A2 is interim 2. Okay, let's go back, and let's see what this one is. Okay, so this is, oh, they did mention very briefly, they did mention a report, Understanding Language, and it was a Stanford Center for Assessment, Learning, and Equity. And these were the principles of the design of math curricula, promoting language and content development. That's all they did. They just presented this. No one asked any questions about it. Okay, so then, and that's it. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and that is what I wanted to show you real quick. So don't forget, the Q&A calls are here. The task, don't forget to make sure you do this task before the students take the second interim. So you got to do task 34 and then task 35. Make sure you remind the principal of task 33, which was provide principals with the video on how to use subgroup filters. I'm going to go back to the home page, and Don't forget about these data instructional resources right here. It is, right here. So the executive directors will probably ask the principals to look at these resources, the data analysis protocols that was presented to them and to the principals last week. And then these right here are the slide decks and recordings. Okay, so if you have any questions, you know you can always call or email. Have a great day.